This is Willie Self over at the Federation of Fly Fishermen in Livingston. And tonight we're going to be tying Willie's sharp-tailed rabbit. We're going to be using the Dairiki 060 size 12. It's a pattern that I like to use and have used for years, back when we couldn't get materials. We used a lot of soft hackles and we used a lot of natural materials that we couldn't get a hold of. The main feathers off of that is actually off the Sharptail grouse, which I actually prefer over Hungarian or most other feathers that are out there. I like blue grouse also, mainly because of the definition of feathers that, like what we're going to be using for the tail. We're just going to simply pull off a small segment of this, just kind of pull it back, and you can see how it starts to be barred like so. The thread we're going to be using tonight is going to be a 3/0 monocord. It's a heavier thread. You can use a lighter thread with no problem on it. These things are easy and quick to tie, but I like to have them in my box, especially from mid-April all the way through October. We're going to have the length of the tail is going to be basically the length of the shank, so you want to use one of the larger feathers off the back there. And we just tie that down to where it's in there. You know, and it's nice and it starts to splay, but it still keeps its barring and color differences in there. Next, we're going to tie in some French tinsel. I like this over using wire because it actually gives a different definition and look to it. It's just about as durable too as wire. It really holds up well. We tie that in. Next, we're going to be using some pre-mixed dubbing of hare's ear for the for the abdomen. You want to apply this fairly thin so you can keep a nice taper going on the body itself. You don't want to use an awful lot of it. You want to just put a little bit of dubbing on the thread as itself to where you can work and add more if you need it. You're going to simply just start winding that on and start creating your abdomen. You want to leave yourself some room back there for the thorax. We're going to take the braided tinsel and we're just going to come forward like this and just rib the body. Next, we're going to go ahead and use some black dubbing. I really prefer rabbit with some flash in it of some kind or nature that really shows up in the water. It looks really buggy. And again, you want to apply that fairly thin and sparse. I've found that it works better when it's like that rather than on a clot, because a big glob on there seems to pull off. The fly won't last as long. And you go ahead and wrap this in for your thorax. Darken. You can use a brown if you'd like. I prefer black. It gives good contrast, like so. Next, we're going to use one of the hackles, you know, one of the soft hackles off the back again of the Sharptail. As you can see the nice definition on that. We're going to go ahead and tie it in. You can tie some crystal flash underneath if you'd like first. I don't really find it's necessary. It doesn't really catch more fish, as it were. When they're feeding on stuff like this, they eat it real well without having to add a lot to it. And then we'll just palmer this on right in the front. You can see that definition of that hackle is very vibrant. Now, before I tie it down, I kind of move those hackles around a little bit, the hackle fibers around, and then I just simply pull it back like so to where they're all out of the way, and I start to create the head. You can add beads to this on the front or in behind the hackle. I haven't found it necessary to do that unless I really want to use it as a absolute dropper by itself. So by itself, just like this, I've found it to be more usable, friendly. I can use it in more situations on the river or the lakes. And that's it. That's the fly.